Okay, so welcome back to part 2 of the Mad River Explorer L.L.Bean edition restoration project. I just took this canoe on the other day, and the part 1 was just an introduction to this, and today I'm actually going to start disassembly of this canoe. The decks will be removed, the gunnels will be removed, all the patchwork from previous repairs for cold cracks, where actual fiberglass cloth and epoxy resins were used, is going to be removed by using a heat method, just a simple Wagner heat gun, but being real gentle and delicate with that so that we don't impact the Royalex hull and create any type of distortion of the hull. So we want to be real careful with that. But it's going to be the removal of all the stainless steel screws. All are in pretty good shape. Some are filled, so I'm going to have to do some excavation to access them. I might just break the gunnels off and then go from there if I can do that without any damage or cracking of the hull. So yeah, it's just going to be simple disassembly, cleaning up the patches, and then moving on in that regard. At each bow and stern, you're going to see this type of application here where you have 4 or 5 external screws at each stem end, each bow and stern, and then the remaining screws for the rest of the gunnels get installed from the inside, so from the in wheel to the out wheel. This is a wood filler that I'm seeing here, very porous material. Seats are in great shape in terms of structurally. The cane, I need to talk with the owner of the canoe to see if he wants to change out the caning for a webbing type of application. And I think that's a discussion we had, and that will probably go. This pressed-in cane, it's not very comfortable in my opinion, but some people like it. These in wheels are gone too. The in wheels are gone too, so all the rails need to be replaced. You know, looking at it from a aesthetic appearance, and when you first survey the canoe, they appear to be rigid and you know, full integrity. But just taking out that seat right there, it's just all weak and flimsy, and there had been inside rot. So yeah, we're going full rail inside and out. And he built some scuppers into this, so I'm going to also incorporate some type of scupper, you know, from probably the bow seat to the stern seat, so when the canoe flips, the water inside the boat can drain. Typical of a scupper. But I think he really liked that characteristic about the canoe, so we're going to reperform that. Okay, I've decided before I continue with further disassembly of the Mad River Explorer here, I'm going to switch to removing the patches while there's still some hull shape maintenance here with the in wheels still attached with the thwarts and the stern seat and the bow carrying handles and the stern carrying handle. Just to maintain the shape of the hull. I always stress the importance of that. So a lot of patches to remove, and I don't want the heat from the heat gun to create any type of distortion of the hull or change the shape because of the heat. So I'm going to move forward with just using the simple Wagner heat gun and a putty knife and remove these patches I started yesterday on one of the patches here on the bow, and it came off easier than I had imagined. So I'm hoping that the others are not as difficult. I know that the one on the port side midship, the darker patch, is going to require a lot more attention. I applied some heat to it yesterday, and it's very difficult to remove. So I just got to be gentle and not change too much of warping the canoe. So here we go, patch removal. So this patch is, I'm going to leave it. I'm pulling up the interior layer of the plastic, and I don't want to do that anymore. So that's going to require an epoxy repair right there. I'll smooth that out with G-Flex, and then the interior of the boat is going to get painted anyway. So I just wanted to get it off the main floor of the canoe, but it's adhered too well, and it's going to take off the protective ABS layer protecting the foam, and I'd rather not do that. So I beveled this edge here with a utility knife, used heat to remove the floor portion of that patch, and I'll leave this and I'll sand it smooth. It's pretty smooth as it is, so it's too destructive if I continue with that patch. So I'm going to leave it. Moving on to other patches. I just exposed this cold crack that runs to here. And for anyone that doesn't know, the best method to stop a cold crack after the damage is done is to drill a hole at the end of the crack to keep it from continuing down further below the water line. Most of the cold cracks come from the gunnels and the unequal thermal expansion of the stainless steel screws in the wood in the plastic, and when they're stored outside. So these cracks are always generated. One of the best methods to prevent this, or one of the preventative actions that you can take, is to loosen all the screws prior to storage if you're going to store it outside. So there isn't a tight bond in between the wood, the plastic, and the steel screws, the stainless steel screws, that creates so many different expansion rates. So just loosen them up before the winter. Store it inside if you can, and then you don't have to worry about that. But if you are going to store it outside, loosen up each gunnel screw prior to putting it away for the winter. Might be best for a razor blade to get the rest of that off. Because these gunnels are so badly damaged, what's important now is to identify the center thwart location, the aft thwart location, carrying handles, any type of bracing that extends from gunnel to gunnel, because we're not going to have those reference points because these gunnels are just falling apart. So what I'm doing is I'm using a measurement directly from the nose for the aft seat placement, and I have 38 3/4 and 46 9/16. Logging those, and again I'm coming again from the stern nose and 78.5 aft thwart. Then I'll come to the center thwart. That's 110.5. And I'll repeat the same thing on the bow for those attachment points. So I've taken all my measurements. I believe it's a 37-inch beam, but I'm going to have to do some reading on that to identify. This hull has relaxed quite a bit, and there's a lot of play in it now because the integrity of the gunnels, like I said earlier, is just so badly deteriorated. Overall, it's 18 feet 2 inches and a quarter. So it's an 18 foot, which we knew, but the exact measurement will help me identify with the actual beam. The original thwarts are going to get me there anyway, but it's just what I like to do. I like to take some specification notes so that when the canoe is restored, that everything goes back to where it was when I found it. So just continuing on, I've taken all my measurements for the below deck handle. There's a handle forward of that too, so it's a brace up there. We have an aft thwart, a center thwart, seats, both bow and stern. I've taken all those dimensions, so now I'm ready just to completely disassemble the boat. Okay, so the canoe's completely undressed, and I just saw, I've been making some posts on Instagram too, and I just saw a post that made me chuckle. And at least while this canoe is in my possession, I'm going to follow somebody's recommendation. This canoe's name is Patches from now on, until I give it back to its rightful owner. So yeah, all undressed. What I thought was resin on the inside of the hull is drippings of varnish. So that's I'm okay with that. That's coming off really easy. And the next thing is going to be cleaning out the interior. I got to get the integrity restored by cleaning out all of these cold cracks and dremeling them and beveling them, and then applying the G-Flex. Let that cure. Then I'll get right into ripping down some gunnels and sanding the boat and all the other things that go along with it. But appreciate you guys following along. This is going, I've been putting a lot of time into this. I have other projects that I need to do, like house projects. Like I'm rebuilding a deck right now, and the wife isn't too happy when I come home with a new canoe all the time to repair, but I really do enjoy this. And So I'm trying to do this as quickly as I can. And then I'm going to get back to the house projects because I have a 20-foot canoe waiting for me to restore as well. So yeah, follow along for part 3. That's coming up. That's going to be all the dremeling, all the cold crack repairs. It's going to be sanding the hull, priming, painting, and that'll probably take it through part 3. And then part 4 will be the woodwork. Probably a 4-part series. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and stay tuned for part 3. Thank you very much.